Greetings, my fellow crypto investors. Hope you are having a blast. Anyway, let's get straight into a quick market briefing on Saturday, 3rd of January, 2026. And of course, the market sitting just above $3 trillion. There is improvement. And whenever there's an improvement, you start to get heavy leverage in the market. Let me show you what I mean. If you look at this heat map, what you will see is shorts entering the market, longs closing minimum, shorts entering minimum, and everything else is basically longs entering. Now, this is a major concern for me because these people will get smoked out. Not structurally, but in the short term, whenever you get a situation like this, where you have the cluster of longs predominantly entering the market, longs entering, then that's when they tend to reverse. Now, if you look at here, shorts closing, well, there's not many, right? And of course, you've got longs closing here relatively compared to shorts entering. So the majority of the price action is exactly where we don't want to see it. And that means longs are coming late into the market. Okay. Just in case you don't really see that very clearly, this is what I'm talking about. So whenever these longs enter the market late, right? Longs entering the market very late, that's when you're likely to see a very big liquidation potentially happening. The RSIs, the majority of the market is oversold, and you can actually see that. So the reason I'm telling you this is why market makers love these types of stats, because what they will do is they will ensure, if you look over here, you have oversold and overbought here. Only very few projects in an oversold situation, and the 4-hour chart at least, and majority of the market is basically still in a frenzy. And I don't blame them, but I'm going to talk about the main reasons as to why we should be cautiously optimistic. So far, liquidation here above 90, plenty of money here, of course, and there's also plenty of liquidity down there, but it is all about liquidity towards the upside of the market right now. And that's what we should be looking at technically, because if we can see how this liquidity is going to build up over the next few days, it'll be interesting to avoid any unnecessary annihilation of funds, that especially if you're trading. Okay, so overall, fear and greed, the market is ridiculously long, bullish, which is great. All season index at 41. Bitcoin market cap 58% of the market, or 58% dominance. Of course, the fear here tampering around that 30 to 40. But let me give you a bit of a different angle of what I see in the market. So this is my market briefing, and I hope you obviously are finding this video valuable to try and make sense of what's going on. So here we've made a slight improvement, right? The range here is not bad at all. 24-hour volume is up significantly, and that is a major boost to crypto. And we also see that number with the growth of stable coins. Of course, fear and greed has been ranging in this. It's out of extreme fear, but into fear. Nevertheless, altcoin season index still pretty much a Bitcoin season. We know that, so we're not really giving too much notice of what's going on there. Bitcoin 90,000. Now we've been ranging, reclaim 90k Bollinger Squeeze. ETH over 3k, up 3.5%. XRP. The reason I actually choose these or try to monitor these, it just gives you a selective outlook on the top 100. So what we're seeing, the likes of Doge, ADA, of course, Pepe, and big gainers here over the last couple of days. Pepe was up over 30%, 17 to 25%. Sui, a massive L1 momentum. So the momentum here is absolutely huge. Doge, Bonk. There is an indication there that the top 100 coins are moving relatively well, with Ethereum. Okay. Now they're still undervalued. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But what tends to happen is when you see the likes of these L1s, as long as you're in the ecosystem, you are good to go. And so is, for stuff like Say and other things like that as well. Meme sector up 10%, right, to 48.4 billion, with a 40% volume coming for Pepe. That's also important to note. 40% volume out of the entire meme space is through Pepe. Absolutely insane. And just to give you an idea of the ETF flows, what we had here is key ETF flows. So if you look at November, 3.4 billion down, December 1 billion. Of course, we had a decline of nearly 5 billion or 4.5 billion. And this was arguably the worst ever stretch since the ETFs came live. But what you're seeing here is December minus 348 million. And look at a few days in January already. We are 7 days outflow, ended. The streak has been broken. And now all of a sudden, this is looking incredibly positive, in my opinion. So just remember that that's what's going on. And again, in the absence of retail, this is very important. The leaders becoming BlackRock in terms of this money flow. All right. So January is the second leader of, ETFs is BlackRock, of course. Ethereum spot ETFs, 31st of September, minus 72 million. 2nd of January, plus 62 million. And again, this is a, snapped 4-day streak of negative outflows. Cumulative now, it's at 12.3 billion. And XRP, well, that's an interesting one of note. Bitwise and, of course, Franklin Templeton there, both of them combining with $19 million. Very small compared to the rest of the, crazy ETFs that we know. But look, it is nevertheless positive. And what we see in here, guys, is a level of stable coin flow. And this is why I track particularly what happens with stable coins here. So total, right? USDT 61% dominance, USDC 25%, and then you've got the likes of Athena Synthetic, USD1, and others. And of course, Circle pursuing federal bank charter. That's also a pretty big development there. But overall, even USD1 fastest growing is the World Liberty Financial. But the total market cap here of 306 fluctuating to 311 billion, 0.6% minus over the last 7 days. A lot of that is to do with deployment as well. One thing I can say, one sector that's not doing well is your crypto stocks, right? Companies that are linked to stocks. MicroStrategy, worst NASDAQ performer in the top 100. The delisting questions will be getting louder. Then you have the likes of, for example, Riot, Marathon, Digital, of course, to take note, but they are all in the negative because of Bitcoin's recent price performance. MicroStrategy is down 67%. And of course, the short interest is rising, and that could be the next Black Swan event, potentially, that we need to keep our eyes and ears and everything else on. Okay. Next area to look at is smart money accumulation. Now, of course, I have done some integration and AI integration within my own system to be able to bring you this. And I can tell you right now, the Lido accumulation, the Chainlink accumulation in the last 30 days has been absolutely through the roof. And these metrics, to be honest, are very, very impressive. I said to people, look, especially with the likes of Chainlink, it's only a matter of time. I mean, you are holding, at the end of the day, the crazy asset, but nearly 1 million links, 680,000 link. And the other one here, I mean, not as big, but nevertheless, there is an interesting development there. Now, Lido's development is mostly due to Arthur Hayes, right? So Arthur Hayes has bought $1.58 million of Lido. And of course, you know, he's doubling down on that. And then BTC supply 10 positive, plus 10,000 BTC. Exchange outflows continue to reduce. Sell pressure. End of year smart money exits this is a counter trend. Basically, it's starting to stop. Now, in terms of the Fed liquidity probability right now in the CME FedWatch tool is around 20%. Last time it was around 14% for a cut. Powell's term expires in May, of course, as you know, and Trump is there's going to be a plenty of struggle over there. Okay. Now, here's what I see in the next few days and weeks and whatever timeline you want to work on this crazy market. So for the last 2 weeks, we have been ranging between 85 to 90K. And one of the reasons for that is we had this high volume candle on the 21st of November that usually signals the bottom, and that came around $80,000 or just above $80,000. But overall, we have been in this crazy place. And you can see here this purple line, possibly with the highest single volume candle, would possibly be the bottom. That's what I said at the time, right? Now, in terms of the overall idea, we still have the opportunity to go up and then come back down to around $70,000. Potential, not an opportunity, potential for that to happen. And the downside pressure should not be ruled out just because the market is euphoric. Certainly, we have better ETFs, especially massive buying in 2026 for the first few days from BlackRock. So what you should be looking for is a resistant 1, 9,500, 92,800, 95, 96,000, then 100,000. And then you got 87, 85, and 82 to potentially be watching. So clear 90,500, and we go to 95, 96K. Of course, resistance below 87 to 85. And of course, anything below 85 would open the door to $80,000 to $82,000. 2026 forecast from key major banks and institutions. Now, this is quite funny. Again, none of this is relative to what we're doing, but it's also a good idea to know where certain players are. So JP Morgan believe new all-time high is 170 in 2026. Tom Lee, that's wildly insane. CoinShare, 110 to 140. And others, Dragonfly, 150 by the end of 2026. Of course, Standard Chartered XRP, $8 in 2026. Dragonfly BTC, 150K, but dominance decreases, alt season setup. That is the way we are going to look at this metric. Now, as always, I have key takeaways in everything that I do, especially within crypto. Okay. So number one, ETFs are reversing. You see the evidence in front of your eyes, so nobody can tell you otherwise. Okay. So we have a reversal of inflows. That's the magic word. And of course, sentiment, fear and greed is coming out of the 20 minus or below 20 to above 20, and then ultimately above 30. And historically, this precedes recoveries. Meme rotation has been absolutely insane. What we saw in the last few days has been crazy. So, you know, I gave you 2 meme videos, but again, it is for a pure degenerative alt season. Take profit where you can, especially if you're in long trades. I've closed all my long trades. XRP is gaining some kind of momentum. Of course, ETF inflows steady but very small. Stable coins market is in no panic at all. Lots of dry powder in the market ready to deploy. We do have the macro uncertainty, and whales have gone into Lido BTC despite the end of the year counter trend, and of course Chainlink, and that's also evident. Volatility incoming. Okay, so big move potentially ahead to the upside. Fed wildcard will be the FOMC on the 27th. Crypto stocks are absolutely wrecked and no leverage zone accumulation territory, of course, right now. So our bottom line is market structure, and you got to remember this, the market structure is improving. Weak hands have exited by and large. ETF flows are reversing. Smart money is accumulating. Volatility compression, imminent potential breakout. However, like I said many times, control your emotions, because at the end of the day, you know, like Wu-Tang said, you know, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, yo. You could be smoked within a minute, right, in these markets. So unless you've got, like myself, all of these idiots coming at me when the market is down, go get a job, do something. Listen, the amount of money I've made from my Pepe Long this week half makes up for my entire bull market of 2025. So you've got to understand, this market only rewards the patient. If you're not in crypto, don't watch these videos and don't build any conviction. Just go to prediction markets, right? I hope you find this valuable. What we've seen is very positive, but of course, dead cat bounce, which is what exactly we talked about in our chart. We are prepared for these markets to come lower. And if they do go higher, we are prepared to sell all of the shit coins, all of the altcoins, particularly selective altcoins, and make the bags long term. I'm talking about a 5-10 year conviction is the kind of community I want to build, right? Have a lovely weekend, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. God bless.